Hello, my friends, and welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. And it's a Thursday here, and we're very happy that it's a Thursday, which means tomorrow is Friday. And I'm so excited for Friday. I've had a really long week at the office with a massive fire yesterday, which is why we had to cancel yesterday's show. I was just not feeling it. But we're back here today breaking down the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm David Huppman. Right there is my co-host, Mr. Matthew James. Welcome to the show, my friend. Happy Thursday. How are you?
Doing well. Happy Thursday. Happy long weekend ahead of us. Well,
Man,
I mean, for you guys who are working right now. So,
man, I don't even get an additional day off
oh,
for the
really?
holiday. Yeah, man, you know what I do for a living. We don't get
That's
holidays.
true.
Like
Yeah.
I have to work every holiday, most holidays. Well, the thing is, so I live a few hours away from my parents and from my family and my friends, right? So like I usually just work the holidays because it's usually they're like in the middle of the week. So I'd have to like drive back, see them, and then drive back just make it to work in the morning. It's just not worth it. So what we usually do at my house, at least with my family and friends, is we'll like pick a weekend like near the holiday and we'll celebrate the holiday on that weekend instead.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I
So
mean, at least get together at some point.
yeah. But enough about my life. Let's talk about the Las Vegas Raiders. And let's get right into the storylines. Antonio Pierce, full-time head coach. He came in as an interim after Josh, man, English, can't speak right now. Josh McDaniels got fired halfway through the season. He took over the team. The team seemed to rally around him. They didn't win that many games with him as the head coach, but the team seemed to rally around him. And most importantly, when your best player is like, hey, this guy better be the coach or you're going to trade me. They kind of swung there for Antonio Pierce. What are we expecting, though, for this team, at least for him as the head coach, like this team this season? Let's talk about it. Raiders expectations. Oh, well, hey, TJ Hopkins, welcome to the show, my friend TJ. We're talking about Antonio Pierce, full-time head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. What are your expectations for this team this season?
What they do last year?
Oh, man, why do you got to ask me the hard questions? Give me a second.
8, 9, 9, and 8. They
Something like
finished the
yeah.
season strong.
Yeah, they were 8-9. Matt's got that right. I don't think they did finish the season strong, but that's neither here nor there.
Didn't they start like 2 wins out of like the first 8 or 9?
I guess that's 7, 8 wins. I don't like much of what they did. I don't like their quarterback room. I don't like you getting rid of Josh Jacobs. I got the Colorado game on right now. I'm sorry if you can hear that in the background. I just don't like what's going on there. I mean, I like what you did defensively. Like you add Christian Wilkins, you pair him with a Max Crosby. Yo, that's nasty.
Yeah, we'll talk about Max Crosby here in a minute.
But like Antonio Pierce, it's I like everything about Antonio Pierce. I like the culture that he comes from. I like the culture that he's bringing. It's something that the Raiders have needed for a long time now. The Raiders is one of those like staple franchises. When the Raiders are good, it's
better for the league.
It's
like
better for the league.
I mean, they're like the Cowboys. They're like the New York Knicks in the NBA, the Yankees. I mean, the Raiders, when the Raiders are good, that's when the NBA's or the NFL's at its best. Just quick stats here. So when Josh McDaniels was fired, right coming off that Lions loss 26-14, they were 3-5. They finished the season 8-9. So with Antonio Pierce at the helm of this team, they went 5-4, which is respectable given what they had to do with a quarterback. All
the stuff that and to be fair to Antonio Pierce, like this is a man who inherited a complete mess. Like they're still dealing with some fallout from when Gruden was there.
Yeah. I mean, the uncertainty at the quarterback position, especially last season after Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt. I mean, you're rolling out Aiden O'Connell, but he's probably not an NFL starting caliber quarterback. You still were able to win 5 of your 4 games, and one of those wins was against the Kansas City Chiefs. And then you blew out the Chargers on Thursday Night Football and cost Brandon Staley his job.
Yeah.
And I think when we're talking about expectations for the Raiders, at least for this season, I expect them, like with Antonio Pierce at the helm, I expect the team to play hard. Like I don't know how many, like how it's going to translate directly to winning. But I think this team to play hard. Like I think the Raiders will be one of those teams that like, hey, like you may beat us, but you're gonna know you played us. I think this defense is going to be fantastic. Expect like the secondary, I still have some major question marks about. But I think the defense, especially the front seven, is really well done. Antonio Pierce should have a good defense on his hands. The offense is where I have major questions.
Yeah, absolutely, especially with the running back position, and I mean, even the quarterback position. I mean, Devontae Adams is not happy again.
Well,
I
we're going
mean,
to talk about
he's like, all right, make our head coach stable. And they did, and now it's like they didn't go and get the quarterback that they
Well, I think they're waiting until the next draft because they didn't really have a
Yeah.
pick that would allow them to take a quarterback in the first round. All the ones that were worth taking in the first round were taken by the time they were up on they were gone by the time they were on the clock. So they had to kind of go to plan B. I think this is going to be a team that maybe doesn't win that many games, but I think you're gonna know you played the Raiders. I think they're gonna play hard for Antonio Pierce, and I think they're gonna have a fantastic defense. That's the expectations I have for this team under Antonio Pierce.
Yeah, same. I mean, they're going to be competitive like they started to be, towards, Antonio Pierce starting to take over last year as the interim coach. They are going to be tough to beat. They are going to lose a lot of games because they're not going to, be able to score a lot, but they're not going to get scored on at the same time. So they were once the top half in scoring defense and So
let's swing from that. Let's talk about some of the players on this team. Let's talk about Devontae Adams first. By the end of the season, we're looking into our crystal ball. Will Devontae Adams still be a Raider by the end of the season? Do you think he even makes it to the start of the season? We got 10 days or whatever the math is, a week.
Yes.
Will he be a Raider by the end of the season?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with Matt. I think a team.
All right. So here's the thing. Like the big rumor is him to the Jets, right? Okay, New York. Okay, specifically Aaron. You want your boy back? Okay, I want Garrett Wilson. All right, I'm asking for the goddamn farm. I want Garrett Wilson. I want every first round pick for the next 3-4 years. If you got that, I want some 2s and I want some 3s. That's just to start. That's just for me to pick up the damn phone. Because you're not gonna get Devontae Adams and think you can keep Garrett Wilson. That shit's just not happening. So
yeah,
I think he's gonna leverage his way out.
That's just not gonna happen. And some one of these teams gotta put their foot down and say like, hey, no, this shit stops. Like, oh, I'm unhappy, trade me. So what? Go play. Like it's that, like that's where we're at now. Like this whole I'm unhappy, I want to play here. Like, no. Like I'm not this whole taking leverage with what? What leverage does Devontae Adams have?
I mean, yeah, literally, he probably doesn't have a lot, but I mean, the team would be better with him on the field. I think that if they can get a good offer on the table, I think they're going to look to move him.
And if that offer is from the Jets and Garrett Wilson's not a part of that offer, we don't have a deal. Whoever calls them, I'm telling you, hey, whoever your top target is, that's who I want. That's why IU is still in San Fran and he's not in Pittsburgh. Because San Fran wanted George Pickens, and Pittsburgh's like, well, we want Ayuk and Pickens. And it don't work like that. We
don't live in Shouldville.
It don't work like that. So you won't. That's like asking, like that's like asking the Chiefs, like, hey, I want to trade for Devontae Adams. Well, can you give me Travis Kelce? Well, we was kind of hoping, like, what are we talking about? If you're not trying to part with your top player, why the hell would I part with my top player? Like, make sense.
I think that the trade is going to happen, but I would not be surprised, even in the slightest, if he's still a Raider by the end of the season. And Matt, you think he is going to get traded by the deadline?
I do think so. I'm not sure if it's going to be the Jets or not. I mean, TJ brought it up. His leverage has diminished, and they're going to need the house for him. especially with the Jets. It's like, all right, well, you're going to get the guy that you want, you love this, and this. Fine, give us everything you got. The Raiders are in place to do that.
He's under contract
Or
for
they hold on to him and
Or
just
they hold
let
on
him,
to him.
sit there and play out his contracts. They're not going to go for offensively either way.
You
So,
gotta imagine that they're gonna take a quarterback in the next draft, right? And you want Devontae Adams on your team if you're gonna be drafting a quarterback. You want to have some weapons around that quarterback. I'm actually gonna agree with TJ. I think he stays. Let's go to the other side of the ball. Let's talk about Max Crosby. Is he, now that Aaron Donald has officially retired, is Max Crosby the best defensive player in the NFL?
No.
Miles Garrett, 3, 4 maybe, but no.
Miles Garrett still exists. Did Miles Garrett just evaporate? Did he get Thanos?
He did. We snapped him away.
Miles Garrett still. T.J. Watt still exists. Nick Bosa still.
Micah Parsons.
Micah Parsons still exists.
Sauce Gardner, even you can throw
Max Crosby.
Hold on. With the addition of Christian Wilkins on his team, there's a debate. Is he even the best defender on his team now?
Oh, he for sure is.
First off, we're not gonna act like Christian Wilkins ain't a dog. Like let's not do that there. Like that's a legit. Come on now. Like don't get me wrong, Max Crosby, bad boy. Put Eastern Michigan, like probably the best player to ever come out of Eastern Michigan. He a bad boy. He's best defensive player in the league. No,
I think this. I think he's certainly in the conversation when you talk about the top 5 defensive players in the NFL.
He's in the conversation. He ain't the best. Miles Garrett still exists. Everybody I named ahead of him are literally ahead of him. Like Miles Garrett, probably in that order: Miles Garrett, T.J. Watt, Nick Bosa, and you can probably flip flop him and Parsons, as Matt said, top 5.
I will agree to this. I think he's. I think I would take him over. I think it's close. I think because you got to think about it. Max Crosby also not playing in the deep. Like he's not like he's getting double teams all the time. His hustle, his energy.
So is Miles Garrett. So is T.J. Watt. So is Nick Bosa. So is everyone I said.
I mean, let's talk about this defense as a whole. Like, how good do you think this defense can be next season? And we got Nate Hobbs. I know DJ, you're high on Trayvon Mulrig, who was a second-round pick a couple years ago. Robert Spillane, Christian Wilkins, Max Crosby, John Jenkins. Like, this should be a defense that's in the top 10 in the NFL next season.
You would think. I was big on Nate Hobbs. Because Nate Hobbs was a part of the little defensive renaissance that happened at U of I when I forgot who was the coach at the time, but it was like they fire him, they hire buddy that used to coach at Wisconsin. He's there now, and he just inherits what turned out to be some good dudes on this defense. And Nate Hobbs was like that first year under there. Just like they didn't get a lot of love because they didn't win a lot of games. That's why Nate Hobbs was like a 6th-round draft pick, I think. I gotta look that up. But
I can look that up right quick for you.
But to the defense as a whole, you would think like you said, like if you're
fifth round pick.
Like if you're top 12, if you're a top 12 defense, you're in the upper tier of defenses in the league. If you're top 12, like forget top 10, if you're top 12, you're better than over half of the league already. I just think because of some of the offenses that they play, the offenses that they see, especially just in their division, their
schedule is rough.
Like just the guys in their division, it's damn, like that's tough. Like you got, especially if you don't have the speed on the outside to match them. That's it's gonna be a long day. It's gonna be a long day at the office. I don't care how good your defense is, everybody get tired.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, they're gonna put pressure on them at all times. I mean, the secondary is so suspect. to where they should be between the 8, 10, top 12 range. But I mean,
I think that they'll give up more. Like they'll be like in the top 10 in terms of yards allowed per game. But I think their points per game allowed will be like in the top 20. What do you want, Cat? Anyways, moving on from there, let's talk about the draft. They took Brock Bowers in the first round. Kind of a steal where they got him at 13. Jackson Powers Johnson, the center out of Oregon, definitely a steal where they got him. A lot of people had a first round grade on him. He falls to the second round. They take a tackle out of Maryland. They take a corner out of Mississippi State. Tommy Eichenberg out of Ohio State. They took a running back out of New Hampshire. They took a safety out of Air Force. And then they took a corner out of Pitt. Let's talk about Brock Bowers, arguably the best tight end prospect in this draft class. He goes to the Raiders, maybe the best draft prospect in a while. I just have some major question marks about the Raiders making this decision. I mean, they have Michael Mayer, who they used the second round pick on last season. And like I guess I would have liked them to see them go another way, but it's hard to really criticize it because of the value of the pick itself. Like people at Brock Bowers being like a borderline top 10
4.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
And he is going to be a I hate to use the word generational because it seems like we have generational talents every years. Yeah, but like the dude was awesome at Georgia. 3 seasons, he caught 175 passes for 2,500 yards and 26 touchdowns. Like those are wide receiver numbers, but he's 6'4", 240 pounds.
He is a wide receiver. Like he really is a. Like he's 6'4", 240. Like that's obviously like you want him to bulk up a little bit or not more than what he is. Like I don't know how they're gonna play that. Me too. I was like when they announced the pick, I was like, but you got Mayer the year before, so unless you're doing a lot of 2 tight end sets or you put
which they might be. I mean, their wide receiver room isn't really that strong outside of Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers. I mean, it's kind of just
you got one
stuff.
You're gonna put one on the line, you're gonna put one in the slot. Like how are we doing that? But at the same time, like you said, like he was there at 13. It's almost like why wouldn't you take him? Hey, why wouldn't you take him at 13? He's there, he's on the board, and you're all right. Like outside of the hey, is Renfro still there?
No, they released him.
Oh, they released him. Yeah, and it's shit. They might convert him. They might just say, "Hey, you a tight end in name only."
Yeah, I mean, I think taking Brock Bowers, he was a steal where they got him. He gives you some versatility. You can play him kind of all over the place. I love the Powers Johnson pick. I think, they didn't bring in Cody Whitehair, but this guy is going to be a stud at center or guard, wherever they decide to play him in the next level. I think he's going to be a fantastic football player. He's a day one starter. He's a plug and play guy. He's going to be a 10-year guy that you're going to start. And so.
Yeah, to get him at 44 when he had late first to early second round pick grades on him is, like you said, a steal. And is he starting right away? Is he?
Hold on. So I mean, they brought in Cody Whitehair. So if he can beat out Cody Whitehair in camp to play that left guard position, we'll see. And then they know the other guy they took the other tackle out of Missouri. He kind of projects as a swing tackle. He's just some depth there because they have 2 tackles that are already starting. That are fairly good. Colton Miller and then Thayer Mumford Jr.
Yeah. And then I think getting Tommy Eichenberg in the 5th round, that was a steal. Out of Ohio State.
The most run stops in 2 seasons, most by 75 combined run stops in 2022 and 23, most among Big Ten linebackers.
It's almost like, hey, tackle by Tommy Eichenberg. Okay, we're just gonna repeat that track today. Hey, and the one thing I am glad about is I know it's an old rule and it's been like this for a while now. But I am so glad that the military academies lifted that rule for players who are like in draft consideration or whatever. Because I remember it was probably about maybe 10, maybe 12 years ago now. Navy had a safety that that he got invited to the draft. He was a headhunter. He was a heavy hitter. He was all that good stuff. I don't even remember if he got drafted, but the fact that like he was like, I'm just happy to be here, but in all likelihood, I'm probably not going to be able to play in the NFL because when you go to the military academies, Army, Air Force, Navy, you have to serve first, and then you can get out, and then you can do whatever you want. They lifted that rule so that anybody that goes to the military academies, if you are draft eligible and if you have a legit shot at getting drafted, you can go, and if you get drafted, you can play in the NFL.
So fun fact. So the guy you're referencing is the kid from Air Force, I imagine, Trey Taylor.
Trey Taylor. Yes.
Do you know more about him? Do you know more about him?
No, I just know that I just like that rule. I'm
So
just glad
Trey-
they got rid of that rule.
So Trey Taylor
needed defensive backs or safeties or something.
He's a Trey Taylor, 6 feet, 213 pounds. While he was in Air Force last season, he had 3 picks, 1 pick six, 74 tackles, 5 of those for a loss, 4 pass breakups, and he blocked a kick in 1 season in Air Force. And just so happens to be, he's the cousin of Ed Reed.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, and he also won the Jim Thorpe Award, and he ended up going in the 7th round.
Which is like the Jim Thorpe Award. Like, hey, you're the best DB in college football.
Yeah.
So think about all the DBs. Think about all the DBs that
the guys that went in the first round.
That went in the first round. You were better. Like, you won that award over all of them. That's crazy.
Then the running back out of New Hampshire. I mean, he did kick returns, 11.3 yards on punt returns. That's probably his position in the NFL. He only rushed for 749 touchdowns. The other corner out of Pittsburgh, he ran a 4.45 in the 40, 5'11", 186 pounds. He had 4 picks last season while at Pitt. And then the other corner out of Mississippi State, he ran a 4.34 in the 40. He's 6'2". He had 7 pass breaks up while at Mississippi State last season, but he's never had an interception while in college. So,
I don't really, I don't really care about that.
Yeah, I mean, but it's just a number. It's a stat. I was just putting it out there. Thoughts on their draft class before we move on?
It's pretty solid. That's a B.
Yeah, I agree with that. Matt?
Yeah, I agree. I'll give it a solid B. I mean, I like the Bowers pick. I had my eye on Powers Johnson for the Bears, so obviously that's high grade on my list for them. I mean, we were needing to shore up our offensive line ourselves, but yeah, I like the Trey Taylor pick. TJ, put it well with the military and everything, so he was rated one of the top safeties coming out. So I give it a solid B overall. So I think Bowers will have be a great target for Minshew or O'Donnell or whoever's in there.
It's Minshew.
It's Minshew. Yeah, they announced it. Swinging into free agency roster shakeup. Obviously, they brought in Cody Whitehair. Andres Pete comes in for the offensive line, and then the big hitter Christian Wilkins, who they paid a big payday. Brought the Brinks Up truck off to his house. Gardner Minshew, who will now be the starting quarterback for this football team. Harrison Bryant, is a really underrated tight end while he was in Cleveland. He played well when David Njoku missed some time a couple seasons ago. And then their big-time departures, Josh Jacobs, Jerry Tillery, and Bilal Nichols, who was a former Chicago Bear.
Former Chicago Bear. Was very good while he was here. David, I almost called you Izzy, I'm sorry. I remember how big he were on Andrews Pete, and I don't think there's anyone more disappointing that Andrews Pete didn't work out than Saints fans. Like I
mean, he was okay for a while.
What's a while though?
I mean, a minute. I don't.
It's like you think like when you're the New Orleans Saints, you get this guy. You think you're gonna have this linchpin. You think you're gonna have your version of Trent Williams, so on and so forth, and then all of a sudden injury happens, and then another injury happens, and then another injury happens, and it just it sucks. It's disappointing. It's awful. And now he's where he's at. Same thing with Cody Whitehair. Cody Whitehair was such a staple.
Yeah, I mean, he was real good.
He was really good.
And then same thing happened to him. I mean,
Same thing happened to him. He
had some injuries and got banged up, and just never was the same guy.
Never was the same dude. And
yeah, Anders Peets, man, the injuries. I mean, he suffered an injury in 2016, knee injury in 2016, 2017 in the wild card round. He got carted off with an air cast, diagnosed with a broken fibula and a high ankle sprain. Doesn't play in 2018. They picked up his fifth-year option, and then he signed a 5-year deal with the Saints for $57.5 million. And then he suffered a torn pec in week 6 in 2021, and then he was waived. I guess this.
And these are these are significant injuries. It ain't like it's an ankle sprain or like these are injuries that take months.
Yeah.
To heal. And it's like, God damn. And
I mean, losing Josh Jacobs, yeah, it was tough. But I think the writing was on the wall that the era of the Josh Jacobs in Las Vegas was kind of running its course.
I don't like it.
You might not. You still might not like it, but it made sense. It makes sense. They brought in Alexander Mattison, who's a fine running back. I guess.
Really, that's okay. Okay.
I also think they like Zamir White. Like, he is a good running back. He may not be Josh Jacobs, and he may never lead the league in rushing, but he's a good running back.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought up Zamir White, because this one Raider fan that's in Christian Sports Group swears that Zamir White is. I'm like, dude had 500 yards last season. What are you talking about? Zamir White was killing.
I mean, he did have some games down the stretch towards the end of the season where he was pretty good, and he averaged 4.3 yards per carry, as TJ likes to talk about. That's kind of what you want out of a running back. That means you get 4 yards, they get 4 yards, they get 4 yards. That's the first down.
But at the same time, like, their season was over. Like, it's what
they're playing. We know. But I have no problem with them deciding, we're going to move on from Josh Jacobs. It does not bother me.
I mean, it happened at some point. I like the pickups. I mean, Whitehair and Pete, I mean, they've had their moments where they've been, strong. But, I mean, obviously injuries are huge with them. I mean, being, the Bears fan and everything, going through the Cody Whitehair era, switching around the line there and having his injuries. I love the Christian Wilkins pickup, though.
That's how Cody Whitehair was for us. Like, he starts off at center. He's a linchpin at center for a handful of years. Then we're going to put you at either guard spot. And he was solid at either guard spot. And this is like, holy.
Yeah. That's how the Bears were. They kept switching him around, and it's like, all right, stick him somewhere and let him play.
Hey,
they
Matt,
figured the other position out.
Matt, you want to know what's really bad about it? They were switching him on a week-to-week basis.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But I even like.
Is he going to be guard? It's like, is he going to be technical?
I like bringing in Gardner Minshew as a kind of a 2-year deal. I mean, I love Minshew mania.
Love that.
TJ, I guess if Gardner Minshew is good this season, I'll get myself a Las Vegas. Actually, I might still do the Jaguar Minshew. I like the design of those Jaguar jerseys.
That was a one time. That was a one.
But I mean, he's a good bridge. I mean, imagine they're going to draft somebody next season. He's a perfect guy to be there and mentor a young quarterback. Be like, hey, this is how you be a pro. I mean, nobody's been through kind of more than Minshew. I mean, he's been on 5 NFL teams, I think now. So he's a pro.
He's been through it all too.
And the one thing we can say about Minshew is this: it ain't like they lost games because of him.
No.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly.
I mean, whatever that running back's name, if he catches that ball, we're talking about Minshew.
No, I'm just talking about in general, like not just Indy. I'm talking about like his time in Jacksonville. Like it ain't like they was losing games because he was out there throwing picks. Like he was putting up
No,
numbers.
he kept them in games.
That's true.
He was putting up numbers.
But yeah,
They just weren't good.
I'm not at all concerned about the guys they lost, and I think the upside on the Kobe White and Andres Pete, like if they can get those guys back to form, what they used to be, I think those are home run brought in. Like I think.
I mean, keep them healthy most of the season, and yeah, absolutely, those are great pickups. But if they get injured early and stay out early, then
yeah. So like my question to both of y'all is like when you're dealing with guys like those two, Whitehair and Pete, who had the injuries that they've had, do you ever really think guys like that's that beat up get back to like 100%? I don't think they ever get back.
I would say no, but like I think there's a level to things. Like like I think if you can get them back to 80% of what they used to be, I think that would be.
That's a win.
Yeah, I mean it's more of a tier than actual level.
Yeah.
I mean it's kind of a different aspect. As I mean, you both said it. It's like all right,
because I think if you get them back, I think both of those guys will have games,
but 85 to 90 or so.
I think both of those guys throughout a season will have games, snaps, series where they look like the guys they used to be.
Oh yeah.
But I think as a whole, it'll be a mixed bag.
Okay.
And I mean, that's the way it is now. I mean, that's how, offensive line, pretty much works.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's going to be a mixed bag, but yeah, they can have a solid season overall. And if
especially since they're both on 1 year deals, you're rolling the dice on one season.
Those are great pickups. Then, I mean,
moving on from there, let's talk about the schedule. Las Vegas Raiders, and they get no favors from the schedule committee because this is just a straight.
Well, they catch a break. They catch a break in week 1. Joey Bosa's out with a broken hand.
He's going to play with the club. I think he's going to try to
play.
No.
They just said he's out.
So we're going to be a Positive Pete show here because I think we were the Negative Nancy show last time we did a show. Let's do the ceiling for Las Vegas. I think the ceiling, I think there's a legit opportunity where they could sweep the Chargers and they could sweep the Denver Broncos. Looking at the rest of their schedule, I think they could beat Carolina at their place. That is it. And we talked about in other episodes of the Prime, but nobody believes in the Saints right now, so maybe they can beat the Saints. That's 6 wins.
Wait. What's your Saints?
I think they could beat Pittsburgh too. I think that's in the Death Star. We don't really know what the quarterback situation is going to be like in Pittsburgh. So that's 7. I got them sweeping the Chargers. I got them sweeping the Broncos. I got them beating Carolina, and I got them beating the Saints and the Steelers.
I think
7 wins.
We also got to keep in mind the team the Chargers team that they just obliterated into non-existence that cost Brandon Staley his job that we like to talk about. They have one of the plays of the year where they set up a screen and then Buddy just reads it perfectly and just literally walks into. That wasn't Justin Herbert. That was Easton Stick. Right? That's who that quarterback was. That ain't the Chargers team that you're facing in week 1. Now your saving grace is the Chargers have no home field advantage. Absolutely
no.
So you should be able to pack SoFi with a lot of black and silver.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's Justin Herbert making those throws and not Easton Stick.
I'm just talking about straight the ceiling. Like
ceiling.
I think as good as the Raiders could be, they're a 7. Like if everything goes as it could go, they're like a 7-8 win team.
7-8 win.
I give them 9 and 8. I mean, with the defense,
9 and 8. Where do you got the other 2? Where do you got the other 2 wins coming from?
Matt, give me your 9 right now. Give me your 9 right now.
What's 9? And we're being positive, and
we are being positive. I'm just,
who are they beating? Who are they? No, I
want first. Carolina, Cleveland. They'll take Pittsburgh.
Beating Cleveland. Okay,
that's 4.
Okay.
Denver, they'll beat 1. They'll split the Atlanta, Jacksonville. That's 6. New Orleans 7.
Okay.
Who else?
Well, I mean,
Ravens
what's great is
8.
you could just have them sweep the Chargers and sweep the Broncos, and then you have
Like
them
I said,
beat Atlanta.
they have to sweep at least the Chargers
Tampa. We'll
or
see
the
how
Broncos.
Baker does.
That's in Raymond James to the pirate ship. I just don't think that's
Well, you bring a
The
you know
point is still
good front
valid.
7 up there. You get within reach. I mean, as we spoke about, they got Gardner Minshew now.
okay.
Big games and pull a couple of these off. Talking stealing. I'm not saying they're making the playoffs by any means.
Right.
Let's swing
I
the
mean,
other
they don't
side.
have to run game in their secondary is very suspects to be nice.
Let's swing the other side. Let's talk about the floor. What is the absolute worst possible result for this Raiders team?
Oh, shit.
4-13, right? And it's ugly. I mean, you go into the Chargers and get blasted. You go into Baltimore and get blasted. You beat Carolina, you catch a break, and then you go to Cleveland, get blasted again.
The Cleveland's got to go to the Death Star, but they get blasted. Either way.
Either way, you're getting blasted. You
got to go 2 Mile High. I think that's
which is a tough place to play because you like that altitude is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how many times, however long you stay in this division, I don't think you ever get used to that Denver altitude unless you play for the Broncos. And then Pittsburgh, still gonna be tough. Then you go to the Rams, tough. Kansas City, tough. Bengals, like tough. Miami, tough. Denver again, KC again, Tampa in Tampa, Atlanta, who's projected to be a lot better, Jacksonville, New Orleans, you probably get that dub, and then you close out with the Chargers.
I'm gonna go 3 wins. I think they get swept by the Chargers. I think they can beat Denver.
4.
I think they can beat Denver in the Death Star, and I think they can beat the Saints even in the Bayou. And I think they beat Carolina early on in the season. I got 3 wins as the absolute floor. I think when it comes all said and done, I think this is probably a 5 or 6 win football team.
All right, 4-13. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I was gonna say I agree with you, TJ. Bottom 4-13. So, and I'd say 7 and 10.
7-10.
Did Brandon Ayuk get traded?
No, he got signed.
He got signed.
All right.
Highest now receiver.
Well, he's the highest paid receiver.
No, he's not.
No, he's
not.
I think, right?
He got 4 for 120. That's not
Oh no. Okay.
It's close. I mean, it's certainly in the comment. It's close. It's on the upper echelon there. Wow. Okay.
He got paid.
Cool.
That's very interesting. But yeah, this has been our Las Vegas Raiders season preview. Thank you very much for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. We got one more team.
And Raider fans, if you go 4-13 or 3-14, like David said, be happy. You want to know why? Because that means you're in the running for either Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart at an Ole Miss or Cam Rising, if he has a good season and stays healthy, out of Utah. Carson Beck out of Georgia. Be happy. Remember when the Jags celebrated the Bears beating them? It's like, hey, we beat Trevor Lawrence.
But this has been our Las Vegas Raiders season preview. Thank you very much for joining us. We have one team left. It's the Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning Super Bowl champs. We're going to be running that episode on Sunday. You're not going to want to miss any of that content. And then next week, we can start into, because NFL is only a week away, we're going to be bringing you weekly previews. We're going to give you weekly recaps. We're going to give you our fantasy football stuff. On Tuesday of next week, we're going to give you our predictions for the season, including who we think is going to take home the major awards. So keep an eye out for all that stuff. I'm David Huppman. That's Matt James. That's Mr. T.J. Hopkins. And gentlemen, what do we do here at the Prime, my friends?
We named Jacoby Brissett the starter.
He should be the starter. Drake May shouldn't.
He is. No, he is.
I know, but Drake May probably shouldn't see the field. I'd rather see Joe Milton. They should literally just take Joe Milton. His first name's Joe, right?
Joe Milton.
You literally just let him throw the football as far as he can every play. I think that'd be more entertaining than watching Jacoby Brissett take snaps under center. We'll be back here on Sunday. I think Izzy's doing a college football show tomorrow, so keep an eye out for all that stuff.
Yep.
You guys all have a good night. Stay safe out there.
All right. Peace, guys.